Well, it's Saturday morning, and I checked the tracking on my 1x1 box steel, and apparently UPS just don't want to deliver it for whatever reason. My flat bar should be here today, but since I've already got this 1x2, I'm going to start on just the front half here. I'd like to finish this before I started up here, but basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a through-the-floor subframe connector here. The factory subframe comes back to right here, and this is the front seat bolt cross member right here. Your seat bolts up here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to split this floor here, and we're going to sink this down into the subframe in there, and we're going to weld it. Obviously this will be flush up against this, but we're going to weld it up here, weld it there, weld it all on the floor, and we're going to come into this back. There's another cross member back here. We're going to tie it into that, and that'll give us our structure to push up to our strut top up here, and also allow us to tie in to the front mount up here. So I'm going to start on this, and I'm going to do a little fast forward video here just to make cutting this and fitting all this up. Obviously I'm going to have to cut a piece of longer, bar there. This was this old scrap piece I had laying around, so I'm going to use that just to get my cut. So follow along. Alright, my camera mount's kind of giving me problems, but what I've done, you can see I split this floor here. You can see the subframe right there. I'm going to get under there, I'm going to grind that clean. I'm going to grind all this clean around through here. Basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to lay this in here. I'm going to dolly this floor where it's humped up a little bit over. I'm going to weld it flat along the floor here. I'm going to come back and I'm going to notch back here and lay it in there. And then from there, I'm going to run a leg off here, tie in the front of the subframe mount. It'll also give us a good spot for our structure up here to tie into and triangulate up. We'll work on both sides of it unchecked. So that's kind of where I'm working with. I got to drag out the chop saw because this is a 1/4 inch wall. So it's pretty heavy stuff. A little overkill. But I want at least the rear half of the structure to all be tied in strong to the body. So let's dig the saw out. Alright, and I'm back. I got my bar cut. Take this one out. Set this one in here and just see what I got. This should be good and tight. Fit. It looks like it's going to be. You just want to take a minute and make sure everything's good and tight. Everything fits up well. You don't have a whole lot of problems, but sometimes you do. I'm going to pause this because what I got my phone mounted on is leaking here, so I'll be right back. And basically here, anytime you do this, you want to make sure that your bar is welded in, obviously level with the car. This car is on about a 5-degree rearward rake. As you can see, we're at 0, so we're going to have to come back here and notch it back here. Drop that bar down a little bit, and that should fill in our little gap right there if I measured everything correctly. Then we can get to cleaning all this stuff up, take this bar back out, clean it up, and get everything welded up. Let's do a little fast forward video here. And basically here, I've got this just fitted up. We're almost flush right here. This little gap can be welded up. But we're sitting on the floor back here. We're tied in here. Good enough room to put a small plate behind this. It's not a real big gap, it can be welded up, but that's not what we're going to do. But basically, that's a through the floor subframe connector. Now, it could be dropped lower and have 100% contact in this little low spot right here. Right here. But I don't want it hanging down below the factory subframe, because we're going to weld it all the way around it. And we're going to weld it all the way around this brace in the back here. Little gap won't hurt nothing. It'll still be good and strong. Won't interfere with the seat. And it gives us a good point to tie into. So that's what we're going to do. Alright, well done. I come in here. Bars all back leveled up. I took a flat disc, cleaned up around the edges. So we're going to get clean surface weld too. Done the same on the bottom. I'll show you all that here in just a moment. I'm going to go ahead and buzz this in here. Get this welded in. Then we'll start working on a secondary brace right here. That's going to be a little more complicated, but I'll show it to you. But right here, and at this point, we're welded in. There's a little spot right here in the middle we couldn't get. There's a drop down right here on the floor. It don't really matter. We got very, very good contact there. Now, right here, I'm going to skip ahead. I'm going to get under the car under here and weld it to the subframe and tie it in this rear cross member here. When I get done with that, I'll come back and show y'all everything. Alright, and then here on the bottom, I've got it all welded up, and you can see it's tied into the subframe. Back here at the back, it's tied into the cross member back there. Sorry for the fan noise, it got a little smoky in here. But pretty much at this point, I'm done welding this in here, and I'm going to start trying to design how I'm going to tie it in. So, I'll be right back in just a few minutes. What I've done here, I just took a piece of square bar right here, this piece of scrap I had, put it in here in the rocker to the subframe connector, and I welded the front of the subframe mount all the way to it, all the way up the side of the rocker. I'm going to plate this right here with some of that flat steel when it gets here. And obviously I'm going to tie the inside of the mount over it also, but I'm going to put a little heavier cross member right here. I'll show you that here in just a moment. Alright, I got it all welded in. What I've done, I split a piece of the 1x2 there, and I let it straddle this factory subframe mount right here from the Pontiac. Welded it on both sides, welded it to the floor on the bottom, welded up this brace right here, and it's spotted across through here. I cut a slot in the floor over here, welded it around there, and that should be good and tied together back here. And from there, you know, like I said before, we can build off and go up to our strut mount. But the name of the game is just trying to make it good and strong. And while I was beating and banging in here, I seemed to have found another rust hole, so we're going to have to put a patch panel on that. So, fun stuff. And as you just seen, I cleaned all this out, and I slicked that my vacuum cleaner there. Cleaned up a little bit. Anywhere where I'm done welding, I'm going to go ahead and prime this. Just keep, you know, flash rust down. Even though we're in the garage, there's still some moisture in there. So, even if I do have to go back in, I can grind it off. But just kind of a good practice to make sure no rust gets down any welds if they're porous. But as you can see, they're not 100% beautiful, but you know, there's always seam sealer, and they're strong, and I think done a pretty good job of tying the rear half of the car together there. Which obviously this is just the beginning of a structure, so we'll have to repeat that in the other side over there. And I was trying to at least get one side done, that way I knew exactly what I had to do when I got back, you know, and just mirror it for the other side. So.
What?
Alright, we're about 3 or 4 hours later. I went over to UPS to see where my package was, where my metal was, since it's supposed to have been in town for the past 2 days. They were absolutely no help over there, and really didn't act like they wanted to do their job, so hopefully it'll come Monday. So instead I went over to Tractor Supply, got some more 1/8 square tube. I've tied one into the rocker panel there. I've extended that leg down. Now I gotta figure out how I'm gonna tie in from there. I'm gonna pause this video right about now. Sorry for the shaky camera, but just kind of wanted to let y'all know where I was at. Really didn't feel like videoing, and I'll go into that here in just a few moments, but we'll go from here. Basically, why I took a break from video there. You see that piece of metal right there, you know, compared to the finger right here. This slung off and got about stuck halfway in my face, you know. That kind of stuff happens, and it don't happen a whole lot, but always, you know, wear your face shield or a pair of goggles or something just kind of prevent this stuff from happening. So I calmed down a little bit here. Just kind of doing some pre-planning. I cut both ends of a piece right there at 48 inches. Well, it's not 48 inches, but I cut it at 45 degrees. I'm going to tie it from our subframe connector up to the corner of our little strut brace up there. I'm going to get that welded in. I'm going to do a little fast forward video here, but basically I cut a 45 on that side, and I reverse cut another 45 over there. The little magnet's not strong enough to hold it up, so I'll actually have to spot that in first. But pretty much this is how I'm going to brace this. And there's going to be a lot more to it, but this is going to be a start. We got that bar in there. It's a good and solid. Where it's tied to the rocker, you end the floor subframe connector, your back wall brace, it's all tied together. Up here, it's fully welded. Went back over some of this other stuff. Obviously, still got to plate this around through here. We're getting a lot closer than what we were. Now I'm going to start working on this side, tie down to the bottom of our subframe mount. And we should be pretty okay as far as bracing goes. Alright, I went ahead and got that welded in there, both ends. I notched the tube so it sit on all these points right here. It should be good and strong. Obviously I'm going to run a tower brace to the other side once I get the other side over here built. But making some pretty decent progress today. Even though my metal didn't come, I had to go source this stuff elsewhere. So we're getting pretty close. I almost put weight on this corner just to see what happens. But I'm not going to do that until I get this plated in. There's just way too much of a gap there. And just a reminder, there is going to be a wall, and this is going to be the back to the wall. So you won't see none of this stuff, and it'll all be cleaned up and painted anyway. So. Well, at this point, I think I'm going to call it a night here. It's already pretty well dark outside. You know, kind of had a full day, you know, between not getting the metal I need and, you know, just little things going on like I always do. But made a little progress here. I did just go ahead and stick the floor jack under the ball joint there and jack it up. I have absolutely no flex at that point. And even with this not tied all the way in yet, and this not plated. So when I get all sheet metal in it should make it even stronger. I am going to have to slightly modify the down bar for the other side. I was kind of looking at that a while ago because of the coil pack and the alternator. And I knew this would be an issue. I'm probably going to end up using a thinner wall tube in this section right here on this side, just for the clearance. But that's part of what you get when you narrow something. Like I said the other day, we're well inside the wheel well here. So that's pretty good. So still got to get a couple of tires to put on the wheels so I can mock those up. Then I can put it on its own weight. Tomorrow's video, or Monday's video, I want to have all this suspension stuff finished up on this side. I'm probably going to start narrowing the other side, and I may go ahead and put this in over there, because this is a good way just to tie off everything. So it'll kind of tie us over until we get our flat bar and the rest of our square tube there. But I'm going to call it a night, so I'd appreciate it if y'all would, you know, hit that little subscribe button, you know, straight down here. And share it with your friends if you kind of like what's going on. If you don't, or you want to make fun of me, that's fine too. But that's, you know, I'm just kind of doing it my way, and this is the way I've always done it, and the way I will always continue to do it. So, you know, you never know unless you try. And if you don't try, you won't never know. So, see y'all on the next video.